Hello, I'm Bradley Cooley, and for my mobile apps project, I built an iOS application called Earth Explorer. So let's just jump right into it. So the idea for the project was to show current events from NASA's EONet database. What they have there is a bunch of different current events that's going on in that have to do with different categories such as weather or natural events or man-made events even. Uh, I was going to display these categories of different events based on what kind of event they are, such as a wildfire, earthquake, or severe storm. There's a bunch of other categories as well. So once you click on that category in the table view, it'll bring you to a screen where you can decide where it'll show you the description for the category and has two buttons that'll link you to the Wikipedia page where you can learn more, or it will go into another table view where it'll show you current events that are currently happening in that category. So after you get all the events for a category, it will display individual events in a table view. And you can then click on those in order to get the event name, the event ID, and a map view. Jumping into my class diagram, we have two different packages that we have separated these into. The first is on the left-hand side, the core data schema. So the only thing that's stored in core data for this application is the ID of an event that a user has favorited. So we have this stored event table, and that table has the attribute ID, which is of type string. And what happens is when a user sees the dynamic event, which you can see over in the model view on the right, dynamic events are also made up of multiple categories and possibly multiple locations. When a user wants to favorite it, the view controller takes the ID of the dynamic event and turns it into the ID of the stored event. In terms of the model view controller diagram, up at the top we have the controller view, which is responsible for most of the stuff that takes from the view and stores something as part of the model. It also, the view controls user interaction and calls event handlers in the controller to deal with whatever process the user might want to accomplish. On the model side, we have the core data storage, which stores the IDs of stored events for favoriting. And we also have the runtime classes, which are the dynamic events that hold the titles, the URLs, the locations, etc. And then we also have categories. The controller is responsible for updating the model with the runtime categories and getting events from the category from the back end. And it also adds to the stored event table when the user adds a favorite. So the capabilities and limitations of this project. Some of the capabilities are viewing categories with details and viewing current events in categories, which are dynamically updated from the EONet database at runtime. You can view up-to-date event details such as the location, the event ID, the event title. And you can also view favorite events, which will show up in another view. The limitations are that the categories are statically defined, so something that could have been accomplished is the EONet database provides an API endpoint to get categories dynamically rather than having them statically programmed into the application. You could also provide a more robust search interface, since currently the only way to view current events is by category. It'd be nice to have a separate interface that you could view all current events on, or even past events that are no longer open. And there are also some issues with the duplication and deletion of favorites. You can't delete a favorite currently. And if you favorite an event multiple times, then it will actually duplicate it in the favorites view. So some of the lessons learned in this definitely had a big part with API handling. So I have a much better grasp on taking JSON and turning it into objects with serialization and using web requests in order to accomplish that. Dealing with asynchronous calls was also sort of a hassle. Trying to have the completion handlers perform segues into other events or into other views after getting data back from the API. So I ended up using a locking mechanism in order to accomplish that. I have a better grasp on using tab bars and navigation controllers, which make it a lot easier to define segues and use storyboard in order to do a lot more of your the navigation work. And then I also learned a lot about using custom table view cells and how to have a file that helps define what your cell is and the individual components in the cell in case the basic. So here we're moving into the demo portion. You can see that I have the simulator up and running. And so the first thing that you'll notice is it pulls open a tab view. One of the tabs is labeled categories and the other tab is labeled favorites, and they both open table views. So in the categories table view, you can see that there's multiple different available cells for you to choose, and these are all statically defined. So if we go into the wildfires category, you can see that there's the name of the category and a description, as well as us using this navigation control here. If you open up the more info, then it'll take you to a web view with the Wikipedia page on wildfires, so you can scroll through that and learn some more information about the category that you're interested in. And you can also view the events for this category. So it'll go ahead and populate this table with all of the different current events that are happening within wildfire. So we can just go ahead and click on one. You also notice that, so we have the name of the event ID, and the category that the event is in, because an event actually can be in multiple categories. So if we go ahead and click on the event, you notice that we have the same sort of information up at the top, as well as the ability to add the favorite. And it also pulls up a map view with the location of the event from the API. So if we press add favorite here, and then we can go over into our favorites and see that the latest populated table view cell within the favorites list is EONet2774, which matches the ID number of the one that we just favorited. So we'll go ahead and do one more just for illustration in a different category. You also notice that some of them don't actually even have any events. So if we go into watercolor, for example, and we go into view events, you'll notice that the first table view cell just says that there's no current events in this category because we weren't able to get any results back since there are no events happening according to this database. So we'll go ahead and add one more. We'll add an earthquake event. So we'll go ahead and view events. Oh, looks like there's none in that one either. Let's go ahead and choose volcanoes. So we'll view the events for volcanoes. You see that it's been populated, and we'll go ahead and do EONet2694. So we can view the map view here. It says it's in Bogoslav Volcano Submarine in Alaska. So EONet2692. We'll go ahead and add that favorite again. We'll go into this favorites list. So when we add to a favorite via the we take the dynamic event, and we only store in core data as the ID number. So the table view here just populates based on the stored ID numbers. So we'll go ahead and do that Bogoslav Volcano in Alaska. So we'll click on that. And then what it does here is it actually takes that ID number and hits a second API endpoint, and it retrieves all of the information again. And so we're actually using the same view controller here that we are in the categories view, except this time we've also disabled the add favorite button since it's already in the favorites. What would have been nice is to change this button to delete favorites and then delete it from the delete the event from core data. And I think that's just about everything. All right, so in the last slide, we're looking at improvements for the project. So, or improvements for the class, rather. So I don't have any personal improvement suggestions for the class, but I would just like to remark that I thought the final project that we've done was a great learning experience and sort of helped tie everything that we've learned over the course of the class together. Thank you.